In our sports lead now, Republican campaign ads on transgender issues dominated the airwaves in the 2024 race. Some of them zeroed in specifically on transgender athletes.
The idea that Sherrod Brown voted to allow transgender biological men to compete in girls' sports, it's unfair.
For Sadie Schreiner, a collegiate trans woman track star, there is a real concern about backlash over athletes like her. CNN's Bryn Gingras sat down with her and brings us this story.
When you transition, you experiment with your look a lot. I think I look best when I have this kind of makeup on. It feels most authentic to how I want to look.
Sadie Schreiner is 3 years into her transition.
I take about 8 pills a day to help regulate both estrogen and testosterone, among other things. Everyone who goes through a medical transition does this to some extent. I have to be a bit more strict about it.
Strict because Schreiner submits her hormone levels in order to compete. She's a star sprinter, a 2-time All-American, and has broken numerous school records on the women's track team at a Division III New York college.
Every time you get on that track and field, what's it like for you?
It's stressful. There's an extra level of nervousness and caution because there's always someone outside who's kind of rooting against me. Sometimes there's a group of protesters. It's a bit of a mixed bag because I like to celebrate when I do better, but then I have to immediately prepare myself for the backlash.
That backlash was front and center this election.
Kamala even supports letting biological men compete against our girls in their sports.
With Republicans reportedly spending more than $200 million on anti-trans ads. Now President-elect Trump promising his administration will prioritize a federal ban.
We will keep men out of women's sports.
According to an organization that advocates for LGBTQ equality in sports, fewer than 40 of the NCAA's more than 500,000 athletes are known to be openly transgender. Even fewer are trans women athletes.
There are so few of us that are actually setting any records, that are actually doing anything of worth, that people will take those individual moments and blow it up and out of proportion to create fear out of nothing. And my biggest fear is that someone's going to try and attack me while I'm on the field.
But some Democrats are also wrestling with what rights they should have. Democratic Congressman Seth Moulton telling the New York Times recently, "I have 2 little girls. I don't want them getting run over on a playing field by a male or formerly male athlete."
What do you say to the people who maybe have complete empathy for your situation, right? Want you to be your authentic self, but have a daughter that they don't want competing against you?
If you want me to be my authentic self, then you probably wouldn't also be scared to have your daughter compete against me. No one's at risk. Part of the problem is it's been so politicized that being trans is not different than being a cis man.
What do people not realize taking that medication does to your body?
My body conducts itself, produces muscle, produces body fat, even just how my bones work. It is fundamentally changed because of my hormones. I'm now slower than I was in middle school.
Schreiner says she tries to tune out the critics and is hoping to transfer to a Division I school. But with more states banning trans women from competing, it's proving nearly impossible.
This isn't like I just can't go to Texas. This is like I can't go to half of the country.
What is your hope to actually get accomplished?
Ideal world is one where we're not even an issue, and we're just something that get to exist and get to do fear of violence.
Look, this is a complicated issue. Even Schreiner actually admits that. You know, where do you draw the regulations? Where do they begin? Where do they end? Questions about, do you talk about team sports versus individual sports? You talk about fairness. There are so many questions, and she recognizes that, but she says at the end of the day, she just wants to exist. She wants to be herself. And one other thing that I thought, really struck me, last week she didn't have something that she now has. That's a passport. She is terrified about what the next 4 years are going to bring for her and other transgenders, that she's keeping her options open if she has to actually leave the country.
She's slower now than she was in middle school.
10
seconds slower because of the hormone therapy that she
And the hormone therapy, she has brought her levels down so low to make a point. They're lower, way lower than they even need to be to compete. She does that because she wants to be able to tell anyone who comes at her, hey, look, I am even lower than I need to be fair in this competitive world.
Fascinating. So,
Yeah.
Bryn Gingras, thank you so much. Coming up next, the food so many of us eat.